Hello, English learners. I'm Mia, and today we're going to explore one of the most useful lessons for everyday conversations. 125 English phrases you must know. These are the expressions and phrases that will help you communicate naturally in real-life situations. Whether you're at home, at work, shopping, meeting friends, or just having small talk with someone, these phrases will make your speaking smoother and more confident. We'll not only go over the phrases, but also explain how to use them, when to use them, and give you practice examples so you can get comfortable using them on your own. Let's get started and make your English sound more natural and fluent. Let's begin with some basic everyday expressions. These are phrases you might use as soon as you meet someone or start a conversation. For example, you can say, "How's it going?" instead of "How are you?" It's more casual and sounds very natural. A good response could be, "Not bad, thanks," or "I'm doing well, how about you?" Another common phrase is, "What's up?" which is very informal and friendly. When someone asks, "What's up?" you can say, "Not much," or "Just relaxing." These kinds of greetings are very common in daily English, especially with friends and people you know well. Now let's look at phrases you can use when you need help or want to ask someone for something. A polite way to ask is, "Could you help me with this?" or "Would you mind helping me?" These sound more respectful and are great for both formal and casual situations. If you're in a store and you can't find something, you might say, "Excuse me, where can I find the bread?" Or, "Do you know where the restroom is?" These questions are simple, but very important to know. If you're making a request, try saying, "Can I ask you a favor?" Or, "Would it be okay if I borrowed your pen?" You can respond to requests with phrases like, "Sure, no problem," or "I'm sorry, I can't right now." Learning how to make and respond to requests politely is a big part of sounding natural and respectful. In conversations, we often use phrases to show interest or to keep the talk going. For example, you can say, "Really?" or "That's interesting," when someone tells you something. If someone shares good news, you can say, "That's great to hear," or "Congratulations." If someone tells you something sad, you might say, "I'm sorry to hear that," or "That must be tough." These simple responses make your conversations smoother and show that you're paying attention. Let's do a quick practice. Imagine your friend says, "I just got a new job." How do you respond? You could say, "Wow, congratulations. That's amazing." Now imagine someone says, "I didn't sleep well last night." A kind response might be, "Oh no, I hope you feel better today." Practicing these short reactions will help you feel more confident in real conversations. Now let's talk about phrases you can use when making plans. If you want to meet someone, you can say, "Are you free this weekend?" or "Let's hang out sometime." When you want to suggest something, you can say, "How about going for coffee?" or "Why don't we meet at 5?" These are great ways to start planning something with a friend or coworker. And if you agree with a plan, say, "Sounds good," or "I'm in." If you can't join, say, "Maybe next time," or "I'm busy that day, sorry." In your daily routine, you may need to express how you feel or what you're doing. For example, you might say, "I'm tired," "I'm hungry," or "I'm bored." These are basic but essential phrases. You can also say, "I need a break," or "I'm in a hurry." When you're relaxing, you might say, "I'm just chilling," or I'm taking it easy today. These expressions help you talk about your current situation. Now, let's look at how to ask for opinions. You might say, "What do you think about this?" Or, "How do you feel about that idea?" These are great for discussions and group work. If someone asks you for your opinion, you can say, "I think it's a good idea," or "I'm not sure about that." When you agree with someone, you can say, "Exactly," or "I totally agree." If you disagree, try saying, "I see your point, but I think," or "I'm not sure I agree with that." These phrases help you express yourself clearly and respectfully. Let's do another practice. Imagine someone says, "I think we should go out for dinner." You could reply, "Sounds good to me," or "I'd rather cook at home tonight." Try to practice both agreeing and disagreeing politely, because both are important in real conversations. Next, let's go over some useful phrases for phone conversations. When you answer a call, you can say, "Hello, this is Mia speaking," or just, "Hi." If you didn't hear someone say, "Sorry, can you repeat that?" Or, "Could you speak a bit louder?" If you want someone to wait, say, "Hold on a second," or "Just a moment, please." When you end the call, you can say, "Talk to you later," or "Take care, bye." Sometimes we need to apologize or thank someone. Common phrases for this include, "I'm sorry," "My apologies," or "I didn't mean to." These work for small and big mistakes. You can also say, "Thanks a lot," or "I really appreciate it." If someone thanks you, reply with, "You're welcome," or "No problem." These small expressions are important for polite and respectful communication. Let's try a little practice with apologies. Imagine you forgot to bring something to a meeting. You could say, "I'm really sorry, I forgot to bring it." And if someone says, "That's okay, don't worry about it," you can say, "Thanks for understanding." The more you practice these situations, the more natural they will feel. Let's keep going with phrases for shopping. When you're in a store, you might ask, "How much is this?" Or, "Do you have this in a different size?" If you're paying, you can say, "Can I pay by card?" Or, "Do you accept cash?" If you're just looking around, say, "I'm just browsing, thanks." If you need help, say, "Can you help me find this item?" Shopping language is very useful when you travel or shop in English-speaking areas. Now imagine you're in a clothing store. You could ask, "Can I try this on?" And the staff might say, "Sure, the fitting room is over there." After trying it, you might say, "It fits well," or "Do you have it in a larger size?" Practicing these small conversations will make you more confident when you're out shopping. Now let's talk about phrases for traveling or going somewhere. When you're getting ready to leave, you can say, "Let's get going," or "Time to head out." If you're taking public transport, you might say, "I'm taking the bus," or "I'm catching the train." You can also ask, "Where's the nearest subway station?" or "How do I get to the airport?" These questions are great when you're visiting new places or asking for directions. When you arrive somewhere, you might say, "We're here," or "This is our stop." If someone is picking you up, you can say, "I'll be outside," or "I'm waiting by the entrance." If you're running late, it's polite to let someone know by saying, "I'm on my way," or "Sorry, I'll be a few minutes late." And when you want to check someone's location, you can ask, "Where are you now?" These are all practical, easy-to-use phrases for everyday travel situations. Let's practice. Imagine you're meeting a friend. You text them, "I'm on my way," and they reply, "Okay, I'll wait by the coffee shop." Then you say, "See you soon." These short, friendly messages are very common in daily communication and help keep things clear and easy. Next, let's explore phrases that are useful in restaurants or cafes. When you arrive, you can say, "Table for two, please," or "Can we sit over there?" When you're ready to order, you might say, "I'll have the chicken sandwich," or "Can I get a coffee, please?" If you need more time, say, "Can we have a few more minutes?" or "I'm still deciding." These expressions are polite and helpful when ordering food. If you need something, you can ask, "Can I get some water?" or "Could we have the check, please?" When you finish eating, you might say, "That was delicious," or "I'm full." If you enjoyed the meal, it's nice to say, "Thank you, everything was great." And when it's time to pay, you can ask, "Do you take cards?" or "Can we split the bill?" Now try this example. You go to a cafe and say, "Hi, I'd like a cappuccino, please." The server says, "Anything else?" You reply, "No, that's it, thanks." Later, when you're done, you say, "Can I get the check?" These simple lines make eating out in English much easier and more natural. Sometimes you may want to express excitement or surprise. You can say, "No way," or "You're kidding," when something is unexpected. If something is amazing, say, "That's awesome," or "That's incredible." When you're really impressed, you might say, "Wow, I didn't expect that." And if you're happy about something, you can say, "I'm so excited," or "This is going to be fun." Let's say your friend tells you they're getting married. You might say, "Oh wow, congratulations. That's amazing news." These reactions make your conversations more emotional and real. Try to use them naturally when you hear surprising or exciting things. Now let's practice giving opinions in everyday situations. You might say, "In my opinion, this movie was great," or "I think it's too expensive." You can also use "I believe" or "Personally, I think" to start your sentence. When someone asks you for advice, try saying, "If I were you, I'd take the job," or "You should try talking to her." These phrases are useful for giving advice or sharing your thoughts in a friendly way. For example, if someone says they're not sure about a decision, you could say, "Well, think about what's best for you," or "Why don't you sleep on it?" This means to take more time to think before deciding. These gentle ways of giving advice are very common in English. In daily life, we also need to make small talk. This means having short, casual conversations with people. You might say, "Nice weather today, isn't it?" Or, "Did you watch the game last night?" These are good ways to start a light conversation. You can also ask, "How's your day going?" or "Busy today?" These small phrases are great for talking to neighbors, coworkers, or people you see often. Let's do a short role play. You're at the office and see a coworker. You say, "Hey, how's your morning?" They reply, "Pretty good, just a bit tired." Then you say, "Yeah, me too. I stayed up late watching TV." These kinds of conversations may seem simple, but they help build relationships and improve your fluency. Sometimes you need to express uncertainty. Phrases like, "I'm not sure," "maybe," or "it depends" are very helpful. If you're unsure, say, "I think so," or "I guess so." When someone asks if you're free, you can say, let me check, or I'll get back to you. These expressions show you're not completely certain, but you're trying to be helpful. Let's imagine someone asks, "Are you going to the party tonight?" You might reply, "I'm not sure yet," or "Maybe I have to finish some work first." These polite ways of being unsure help you sound natural and friendly, even when you don't know your answer yet. Sometimes you'll need to ask for clarification or say you don't understand. You can say, "Sorry, what do you mean?" or "Can you explain that again?" If someone speaks too fast, say, "Could you slow down a bit?" If you didn't catch something, say, "Sorry, I didn't catch that," or "Can you repeat that, please?" These are very helpful when learning and speaking English, especially in conversations with native speakers. Let's do a quick practice. Your teacher says, "We'll meet in room 304 at 9:30. But you didn't hear it well. You can say, "Sorry, what room was that again?" These kinds of questions help you stay clear and confident when something is not clear. Let's go over some phrases to end conversations. You can say, "I've got to go now," or "I'll talk to you later." If you're saying goodbye, you can say, "Take care," or "Have a good one." When leaving work, you might say, "See you tomorrow," or "Have a great evening." Ending a conversation with a friendly tone leaves a good impression. If someone says, "I'm heading out now," you can respond, "All right, take care," or "See you soon." These simple endings help you wrap up your talk politely and naturally. We also use many expressions to show agreement or disagreement. If you agree, say things like, "That's true," "I think so too," or "Absolutely." If you disagree, say, "I'm not sure about that," or "I see it differently." You can also say, "I respect your opinion, but I don't agree." These phrases are important in discussions and group conversations. Let's do one more practice. Your friend says, "I think this movie was boring." You might say, "Really?" "I actually liked it." Or you might agree and say, "Yeah, it was kind of slow." Practice both sides so you can respond naturally, no matter what the other person says. Let's move on to phrases you can use when you want to express emotions. In daily life, it's important to be able to describe how you feel. You can say, "I'm feeling great," "I'm a bit tired," or "I'm really stressed out." These simple expressions help others understand your mood. If you're excited, you might say, "I can't wait," or "I'm so happy about it." If you're disappointed, you could say, "That's too bad," or "I was really hoping it would work out." Talking about your feelings clearly helps people connect with you better. For example, if a friend tells you they failed a test, a kind response would be, "I'm really sorry to hear that. Don't worry, you'll do better next time." And if someone tells you they got a promotion, you might say, "That's fantastic, congratulations." These kinds of emotional reactions make your English sound more natural and empathetic. Let's talk about time-related phrases that are common in conversations. When scheduling, you can say, "Let's meet at noon," or "I'll see you around 6. You can also use "in the morning," "in the afternoon," "at night," or "later today." If you're running late, say, "Sorry, I'm running behind," or "I got stuck in traffic." When you arrive, say, "Thanks for waiting," or "Sorry for being late." These phrases are especially useful when you're organizing or attending appointments and events. Now, let's imagine you're planning your day. You might say, "First, I have a meeting at 10. Then I'll go to the bank in the afternoon. After that, I'll stop by the grocery store. These time expressions help you describe your schedule in a clear and structured way. You can even add connectors like before, after, later, or by the time to sound more advanced. We also often need phrases to talk about routines and habits. You can say, I usually wake up at 7. I always drink coffee in the morning. Or, I go to the gym 3 times a week. You might also say, sometimes I work late. Or, I rarely watch TV. These frequency phrases, like always, usually, sometimes, rarely, and never, are important for describing your everyday life. Let's do a quick practice. Try saying, I usually have breakfast at home, but sometimes I eat at the cafe near my office. Now try this one. I always check my phone before going to sleep. These examples show how you can use routine expressions naturally. Sometimes you may need to express ability or permission. Phrases like, I can do it, I'm able to help, or I know how to use it, show ability. For permission, say, can I go now? Or, is it okay if I leave early? You can also say, you're allowed to use your phone here, or you can't park there. These are practical expressions for rules and situations at work, school, or in public. Let's say you're in class and need to leave early. You could ask, excuse me, can I leave a few minutes early today? Or at work, someone might say, are we allowed to wear jeans on Friday? These kinds of questions and answers are very common. We often talk about plans and intentions. You can use phrases like, I'm going to visit my parents, I'm planning to study tonight, or I hope to travel next year. When discussing future goals or ideas, try saying, I'd like to learn a new language, or I'm thinking about changing jobs. These expressions help you talk about what you want to do or what you expect to happen. For example, if someone asks, what are you doing this weekend? You might say, I'm planning to go hiking with my friends. If they ask about your future, you can say, I'd love to move to a new city someday. Try saying a few of these aloud to get more comfortable talking about your plans. Next, let's go over some expressions used when making suggestions or offering help. You might say, why don't we go out for lunch? Or how about trying that new restaurant? When offering to help, say, do you want me to help you with that? Or let me give you a hand. If you want to be polite, you can say, would you like some help? Or can I help you with anything? Imagine your friend is carrying a heavy bag. You could say, here, let me help you with that. Or if they're trying to decide what to eat, say, why don't we try the sushi place? These phrases are not only useful, but also show kindness and consideration. Let's talk about phrases related to agreement and confirmation. When you agree with someone, you can say, that's right, exactly, or I feel the same way. When confirming something, you might say, yes, that's correct, or that's what I heard too. If you're not completely sure, say, I think so, or as far as I know. These kinds of phrases help you keep the conversation flowing and show that you're following what the other person is saying. Now, imagine someone says, we have a meeting at 3, right? You can confirm with, yes, that's right, or as far as I know, yes. These confirmations help avoid misunderstandings and make conversations smoother. Let's not forget some casual slang and informal phrases used in friendly conversations. For example, you can say, no worries, which means it's okay. Or I'm down, which means I agree or I want to do it. Other informal phrases include hang out, meaning to spend time together, and I'm beat, meaning you're very tired. Using a few of these in your speech will make you sound more like a native speaker, especially in casual settings. Let's practice. Imagine your friend asks, "Want to hang out later?" You could say, "Sure, I'm down." And if they say, "Let's walk instead of drive," you could reply, "No worries, I like walking." Try using these in friendly conversations to make your English sound more relaxed. We also use phrases for encouragement. If someone is nervous, you might say, "You've got this," or "Don't worry, you'll do great." You can also say, "Keep going," or "I believe in you." These short but powerful phrases are very helpful when someone needs motivation or support. They show that you care and that you're there for them. For instance, if your friend is about to give a presentation, you might say, "Good luck, you're going to do amazing." Or if they feel like giving up, say, "Don't quit, you're almost there." Practice saying these to yourself too, when you need a little boost. Now let's explore some phrases that help you handle problems or difficult situations. In real life, things don't always go as planned, so it's useful to know how to express that. You might say, "Something came up," when you need to cancel a plan unexpectedly. If you're dealing with a mistake, you can say, "I messed up," or "That was my fault." These are honest and straightforward ways to admit something went wrong. You can also say, "Let's figure it out," or "We'll find a solution." These show that you're willing to fix the issue and keep moving forward. For example, imagine you forgot to do something important. You could say, "I'm really sorry, I totally forgot." It won't happen again. If a friend is upset, you might say, "Let's talk about it," or "I didn't mean to upset you." These kinds of phrases are part of maintaining good relationships and being responsible in your communication. Next, let's talk about phrases for learning and studying. These are especially useful for students or anyone working to improve a skill. You might say, "I'm trying to learn something new," or "I've been studying English every day." If you need help, say, "I don't understand this," or "Can you explain it to me?" When you understand something, you can say, "I get it now," or "That makes sense." These expressions help you talk about your learning process clearly. If you're preparing for a test or project, you might say, "I need to focus," or "I'm reviewing my notes." And if you're feeling frustrated, it's okay to say, "This is hard," or "I'm struggling with this part." Being able to express your progress and challenges will help others support you better and help you stay motivated. Now let's look at phrases for handling technology or technical issues. These days, we often deal with phones, computers, or apps, so it's useful to know how to talk about them. You can say, "My phone isn't working," or "The internet is down." If you're having trouble with a device, you might say, "It's not loading," or "The app keeps crashing." When you need help, ask, "Do you know how to fix this?" Or "Can you help me with this error?" Let's say your computer suddenly restarts. You might say, "Something's wrong with my laptop," or "I think it froze." If you fix the issue, you can say, "It's working now," or "I figured it out." These tech-related expressions are useful in both personal and professional life. Let's now practice using travel and vacation phrases. When you're planning a trip, you might say, I'm booking a flight, or I'm going on vacation next week. At the airport, you can say, where is the check-in counter? Or how long is the flight? If you're at a hotel, you might ask, do you have a reservation under this name? Or what time is checkout? These phrases help you travel smoothly in English-speaking places. Imagine you arrive at a hotel and say, hi, I have a reservation under Mia. The front desk replies, yes, welcome. Here's your key. Then you say, thank you, what time is breakfast? These conversations are simple but very helpful when you're traveling. Let's now explore phrases used in group work or team activities. When working with others, it's good to say, let's work together, or can I share my idea? You might say, that's a great point, or I agree with your suggestion. If you want to take on a task, say, I'll handle this part, or let me take care of it. When you need to organize things, say, let's make a plan, or can we set a deadline? If there's disagreement, you can keep the conversation polite by saying, let's try to find a compromise, or I see your side, but what if we try this instead? Using respectful phrases keeps teamwork productive and friendly. Now let's turn to phrases for health and well-being. When you're not feeling well, you can say, I am not feeling great, or I think I'm coming down with something. You might say, I have a headache, or my stomach hurts. If you need to see a doctor, say, I need to make an appointment, or is there a clinic nearby? And if someone else is sick, you can say, I hope you feel better soon, or take care of yourself. Let's practice a short example. You wake up feeling ill and say, I don't feel well today. I think I need to rest. If your friend is sick, you might say, drink lots of water and get some rest. These expressions show care and help you communicate clearly in health-related situations. Now let's go over weather phrases. Talking about the weather is common in everyday small talk. You can say, it's really sunny today, or looks like it's going to rain. If it's hot, you might say, it's boiling out there. If it's cold, say, it's freezing today. When the weather changes, you can say, the weather's been strange lately, or it was sunny this morning, but now it's cloudy. These phrases are easy to use when starting a conversation with someone. For example, you might meet a neighbor and say, beautiful day, isn't it? They might reply, yes, finally some sunshine. These short talks help build friendly relationships. Let's talk about expressing likes and dislikes. When you enjoy something, say, I love this movie, or I really like this place. You can also say, I'm a big fan of, or I'm into. For example, I'm into jazz music, or I'm a big fan of cooking shows. When you don't like something, say, I'm not really into that, or it's not my thing. You can also say, I can't stand it if you strongly dislike something. Imagine someone asks, do you like spicy food? You might reply, I love it. Or, not really, I prefer mild dishes. Practicing these kinds of phrases helps you share your preferences easily in conversations. Sometimes we need to encourage people or show support. You can say, you're doing a great job, or keep up the good work. If someone is feeling unsure, say, don't give up, or believe in yourself. When a friend is nervous, say, you've got this, or just do your best. These phrases are powerful in everyday life. especially when someone needs a little push to stay motivated. Let's say your friend is starting a new job and feels nervous. You can say, "I'm proud of you. You'll do amazing." And if someone failed but tried hard, say, "It's okay. What matters is you gave it your best." These words make a difference in how people feel and help build confidence. Let's now move on to phrases used in job or work-related situations. When you start your workday, you might say, "Let's get started," or "Time to get to work." During a meeting, you can say, "Can I add something?" or "That's a good point." If you agree with an idea, say, "I support that," or "I think that could work." When you want clarification, ask, "What exactly do you mean?" Or "Could you explain that a bit more?" If you're giving your opinion, you can say, "In my view," or "I believe this is the best approach." These expressions help you sound professional and respectful. When discussing deadlines or schedules, use phrases like, "Let's set a timeline," or "We need to finish this by Friday." If there's a delay, you might say, "We're running behind," or "Let's catch up tomorrow." Imagine you're in a meeting and someone suggests an idea. You could say, "That's interesting. Have we tried something like that before?" Or if you disagree, you might say, "That's one way to look at it, but here's another idea." These respectful phrases help keep workplace communication clear and productive. Let's now explore phrases for dealing with money and financial topics. When talking about prices, you might say, "That's too expensive," or "That's a good deal." If you're shopping, ask, "Is this on sale?" or "Do you have any discounts?" When paying, say, "Do you accept cards?" or "Can I get a receipt?" If something is cheap, you might say, "That's a bargain." If it's pricey, say, "It costs a fortune," or "It's out of my budget." For example, imagine you're at a store and see a jacket you like. You might ask, "How much is this?" The salesperson says, "It's $50. You reply, "That's a bit more than I wanted to spend." These common money-related phrases help you in everyday financial decisions. Now let's cover expressions for giving directions or helping someone find a place. If someone asks for help, you can say, "Go straight ahead," or "Turn left at the corner." If it's far, say, "It's about a 10-minute walk," or "You'll need to take the bus." You can also say, "It's right across the street," or "It's next to the pharmacy." These phrases are very useful if you're traveling or helping someone who is new to the area. Let's imagine someone asks, "How do I get to the library?" You might say, "Walk 2 blocks, then turn right. It's next to the park." Clear, simple directions like these help people feel confident and appreciated. Let's now talk about phrases used for introductions and getting to know someone. You can say, "Hi, I'm Mia. Nice to meet you." The other person might say, "Nice to meet you too." You can also ask, "Where are you from?" or "What do you do?" These are basic but important when starting conversations with new people. If you want to keep the conversation going, ask, "What do you like to do in your free time?" or "Have you been here long?" Now imagine you're at a party and meet someone new. You say, "Hi, I'm Mia." They reply, "Hey, I'm Tom." Then you ask, "So what brings you here?" or "Do you live around here?" These kinds of simple, polite questions help you connect with others and build friendships. Let's explore more expressions that show curiosity or interest in what someone is saying. You might say, "Tell me more," or "Really?" what happened next? You can also ask, how did you feel about that? Or, what did you do after that? These are useful when you want to encourage someone to keep talking or share their story. Showing interest makes conversations more natural and meaningful. Imagine your friend says they visited a new city. You could respond, "Oh, wow, what was it like?" Or, "Sounds amazing. What did you do there?" Asking follow-up questions keeps the conversation active and shows you care. Let's go over a few more phrases related to time management. These are helpful when talking about your schedule or priorities. You can say, "I don't have much time," or "Let's make the most of our time." If you're running late, you can say, "Sorry I'm late," or "Traffic was bad." When planning, you might say, "Let's set a time," or "What time works for you?" These expressions are useful in both personal and work settings. Let's say you're meeting a friend and want to plan a time. You can say, "How about 3 p.m.?" If that doesn't work, they might say, "I'm busy then. Can we do 4 instead?" Being able to talk clearly about time helps you avoid confusion and stay organized. Sometimes we use short phrases to express agreement or to react quickly. These include exactly, for sure, no doubt, totally, and definitely. They're great for showing you agree strongly or that you feel the same way. You might say, "This place is awesome," and your friend replies, "Totally." Or someone says, "That was a great movie," and you say, "No doubt." These short phrases are common in casual English and help your speaking sound more fluent. You can practice using them in different tones, friendly, excited, or relaxed, to match the situation. Let's now practice a full dialogue using several of the phrases we've learned. Imagine two friends talking after work. One says, "Hey, how was your day?" The other replies, "Pretty good. I had a meeting, but it went well." Then the first says, "That's great, I'm totally beat though." The second says, "No doubt. Let's grab dinner or something." And the reply is, "Sounds good to me. Where should we go?" This kind of conversation is very typical in daily life and shows how natural these phrases can be. Finally, let's review how to politely express when you need to leave or stop a conversation. You might say, "I've gotta go," or "Let's catch up later." You can also say, "I'll talk to you soon," or "It was nice chatting with you." If you're on the phone, say, "Thanks for calling," or "Take care, talk later." These are gentle ways to end a conversation without sounding rude or abrupt. Imagine you're talking with a coworker and you need to get back to work. You might say, "All right, I should get going. Talk to you later." Or with a friend, you could say, "It was great seeing you. Let's meet again soon." Practice these phrases so you can use them naturally in real conversations. Now, let's explore phrases used when giving compliments or showing appreciation. Compliments are a simple and powerful way to make others feel good and build strong connections. You can say, "You look great," or "That's a nice outfit." If someone has done good work, say, "Well done," or "Great job on that project." You might also say, "I really like your style," or "You're very talented." Giving compliments sincerely makes your English sound more positive and friendly. For example, if your friend shows you their artwork, you could say, "Wow, this is amazing. You're really good at drawing." Or if someone helped you with something, you might say, "Thank you so much. I really appreciate your help." These phrases are simple, but they carry a lot of meaning. Practice using them often. It's a good habit to have. Let's talk about phrases that are useful when talking about goals or ambitions. You might say, I'm working on improving my English, or my goal is to get a better job. You can also say, I want to travel more, or I'm trying to learn something new. These types of phrases help you express your dreams and plans clearly. They also show motivation, which is important in both personal and professional conversations. If someone asks about your future, you can respond with, I hope to start my own business, or I'm planning to study abroad next year. These phrases can lead to deeper conversations about life choices, education, or career growth. Let's say someone asks you, where do you see yourself in 5 years? You might answer, I'd like to be working in a creative job and traveling more. These kinds of answers help share your vision with others. Now let's cover phrases that help you express uncertainty or hesitation. These include, I'm not sure, I guess so, it depends, and maybe. These phrases are especially useful when you don't want to give a definite answer or when you're still thinking about something. For example, if someone asks, do you want to go out tonight? You might say, maybe. I'll let you know. Or, it depends on how much work I have. Another good phrase is, I haven't decided yet. This shows that you're still considering your options. And if you really don't know, you can simply say, I don't know. Or more politely, I'm not sure yet. These expressions help you sound honest and thoughtful, rather than rude or disinterested. Let's now move to phrases used when asking for opinions or making polite conversation. If you want to know someone's view, you can say, what do you think? Or how do you feel about it? You might also ask, do you agree? Or what's your take on that? These open-ended questions help encourage conversation and make people feel heard. Imagine you and a friend are choosing where to eat. You could say, what do you feel like having? Or do you have any suggestions? These kinds of questions invite the other person to participate and make decisions together. It shows respect and interest in their ideas. Let's take some time to practice a longer dialogue that includes many of the phrases we've covered so far. Imagine you and your friend are at a coffee shop. You start the conversation by saying, hey, it's been a while. How have you been? Your friend replies, I've been good, just super busy with work. Then you say, yeah, I know how that feels. I've been working on a few projects myself. Your friend says, that sounds interesting. What kind of projects? You reply, mostly writing and editing. I'm trying to improve my content and learn more about design. The conversation continues with your friend asking, what do you want to do next? You respond, I'm planning to launch a blog soon. It's something I've always wanted to do. They say, that's awesome. Let me know if I can help. You thank them and say, thanks, I really appreciate that. It means a lot. This type of dialogue helps reinforce natural rhythm and phrasing in English conversation. Let's now look at some everyday idioms and expressions that native speakers often use. For example, break the ice means to start a conversation in a relaxed way. Hit the nail on the head means to describe something exactly right. Under the weather means not feeling well. Piece of cake means something is very easy. Idioms like these add color to your language and help you sound more fluent. For example, you might say, "I was nervous at first, but his joke helped break the ice." Or, "That test was a piece of cake." These are very natural expressions in spoken English. Try using a few idioms in your own conversations. It will help your English feel more native and confident. Let's now practice a few sentence examples using these idioms. You could say, "I've been feeling a bit under the weather, so I stayed home today." Or, "He explained the problem so well, he really hit the nail on the head." When someone tells you they passed an easy exam, you might respond, "Sounds like it was a piece of cake." The more you practice idioms, the more naturally they will come to you when speaking. Now let's talk about phrases that help in organizing or structuring your speech. These include expressions like "first of all," "to begin with," "next," "after that," "finally," and "in conclusion." These phrases are very useful when telling stories, giving instructions, or making presentations. They help your ideas flow clearly and make it easier for others to follow what you're saying. Let's try an example. You might say, "First, I got up early. Next, I went for a jog. After that, I had breakfast and got ready for work." Using these connectors helps your speech feel more organized and professional. These transitions are great for storytelling or explaining a process step by step. Imagine you're giving directions to someone. You could say, "First, walk straight ahead for 2 blocks, then turn right. After that, you'll see the post office on your left." These kinds of instructions are much easier to follow when you use transition words. Practice using them until they become a natural part of your speaking style. Let's now look at some common polite expressions that help make your English sound softer and more respectful. You can say, "Would you mind?" or "Could you please?" These are very polite ways to ask someone to do something. For example, "Would you mind closing the window?" or "Could you please help me carry this box?" When someone agrees, they might say, "Sure, no problem," or "Of course." And if they can't, they might say, "I'm sorry, I'm a bit busy right now." Using polite expressions shows that you respect others' time and space. It also helps avoid sounding too direct, which can sometimes feel rude in English. Let's practice a short example. You're at a cafe and it's a bit cold. You say to the server, "Would you mind turning down the air conditioning a little?" The server replies, "Of course, I'll take care of it right away." These small, polite exchanges make a big difference in everyday conversations. Let's continue by going over some useful expressions for asking for help or offering to help. These are very practical in daily life, and they show kindness and cooperation. If you need help, you can say, "Can you help me with this?" Or, "I could use a hand." You might also say, "Would you mind helping me?" Or, "Could you show me how to do this?" These polite forms are friendly and respectful. When someone helps you, it's polite to say, "Thanks, I really appreciate it." Or, "That means a lot." Now, imagine a situation where you're carrying a heavy box. You see someone nearby and say, "Excuse me, could you give me a hand with this?" They respond, "Sure, happy to help." That small exchange is not only polite, but also very natural in English-speaking countries. Being able to ask for and offer help easily will make your communication more confident. Sometimes you'll want to make plans with friends or coworkers. You can say things like, "Are you free this weekend?" or "Want to grab coffee sometime?" These are casual and friendly ways to start a plan. If you're trying to confirm something, ask, "Does that time work for you?" Or, "Should we set a time?" When the plan is confirmed, you can say, "Looking forward to it," or "See you then." Here's a quick scenario. You're texting a friend and say, "Hey, are you free tomorrow evening?" They reply, "Yeah, what's up?" You answer, "Let's meet up for dinner." They say, "Sounds good." What time? This flow of casual planning is something you'll use all the time, so get comfortable using these phrases in relaxed settings. Next, let's look at some common phrases used when giving directions or instructions. If someone asks how to do something, you might say, "First, open the app." Then click the settings icon. Other helpful phrases include, "Be sure to," or "Don't forget to." You can also say, "Make sure you follow the steps," or "It's important to check your work." These types of instructions are clear and easy to follow. Let's practice. Imagine someone is trying to bake a cake. You say, "First, preheat the oven." Then mix the ingredients. After that, pour the batter into the pan and bake it for 30 minutes. Notice how "first," "then," and "after that" help organize your instructions and make everything easy to understand. Now let's go over phrases used when reacting to good or bad news. If someone tells you something positive, you can say, "That's great," or "I'm so happy for you." You might also say, "Wow, that's awesome," or "Congratulations." If you hear bad news, use phrases like, "I'm sorry to hear that," or "That's really unfortunate." You can also say, "That must be hard," or "Is there anything I can do?" Let's say your friend tells you they got a new job. You could respond with, "That's amazing news. You totally deserve it." Or if someone says they failed an exam, you might say, "I'm really sorry to hear that." "I know how hard you studied." These expressions of sympathy or happiness help build trust and empathy in your relationships. In many conversations, you may want to show that you understand or agree. Phrases like "I see," "That makes sense," "Exactly," and "Totally" are great for this. If someone is explaining a complicated idea and you want to show you're following, you can say, "Got it," or "Okay, I understand now." If you're not sure, you might say, "So what you're saying is," and then repeat the idea in your own words to confirm. Imagine your coworker explains a task and you say, "Okay, that makes sense." I'll start with the first part and check back with you later. Or a friend explains a story and you say, "I see. So that's why you were upset." These phrases help you stay engaged in the conversation and show that you're listening actively. Let's now talk about filler phrases. These are small expressions we use to give ourselves a moment to think while speaking. Common fillers include, "Let me see," "Well, actually," and "To be honest." For example, if someone asks you what you think about a movie, you might respond, "Well, I thought it was okay. Not great, but not bad either." These help keep the conversation going, even when you're not sure what to say right away. Another example. Your teacher asks you to share your opinion. You say, "Let me think." I guess I'd say it depends on the situation. Using fillers naturally makes your English sound more like a native speaker's, especially during casual conversation. We also use question tags in English to keep conversations active. Phrases like, right? Isn't it? Don't you think? And aren't you are used at the end of sentences to check agreement or confirm information. You might say, it's really hot today, isn't it? Or, you've seen that movie, right? These help turn a statement into a light question that invites the other person to respond. Let's practice. You're talking to a friend and say, that concert was amazing, wasn't it? They reply, yes, it was one of the best I've been to. These small additions help make your speaking more interactive and engaging. Sometimes you might need to politely interrupt someone or join a conversation. In those cases, try saying, sorry to interrupt, or can I just say something quickly? If you want to enter a group conversation, you might say, mind if I join in? Or, I was just listening and wanted to add something. These respectful phrases are useful when you want to speak, without being rude. Imagine you're in a group discussion and someone says something you have a thought on. You can say, just to add to that, or that reminds me of something similar. These short interruptions, when done politely, keep the conversation flowing while making sure everyone is heard. Let's not forget how to show gratitude in more advanced ways. Besides saying thanks or thank you, you can say, I really appreciate that. I'm grateful for your help, or thanks a ton. If someone helps you with something big, you might say, I can't thank you enough, or that means the world to me. These deeper expressions of thanks are more emotional and sincere. Practice this example. Your friend drives you to the airport early in the morning. You say, thank you so much. I know it's early and I really appreciate it. These types of expressions help deepen your connections and show how much you value someone's effort. As we reach the end of this lesson, let's go over some useful phrases that express personal opinions or preferences in a more thoughtful way. These can help you sound more advanced and considerate in conversations. You might say, personally, I think that, or from my point of view. These phrases soften your opinion and make it sound respectful. For example, instead of saying, that's wrong, you can say, I see what you're saying. But from my point of view, it's a bit different. This way, you express your thoughts without sounding too direct or aggressive. Imagine someone shares an idea you don't fully agree with. You could respond, that's interesting, and I understand where you're coming from. Personally, I might approach it differently. This kind of language is very helpful in discussions, debates, or even everyday talks where people have different opinions. Let's also look at phrases that express hope, encouragement, and wishes. These are warm and friendly expressions that show you care about someone. You can say, I hope you have a great day, or wishing you the best. When someone is going through something tough, say, hang in there, or things will get better. These phrases are comforting and help you connect emotionally with others. Let's practice a situation. A friend is feeling down about something. You say, I know it's hard right now, but I believe in you. Hang in there. Or maybe someone is about to start a new job, and you say, wishing you all the best on your first day. You'll do great. These words may be simple, but they have a strong emotional impact. Now, as we close this video, I want to encourage you to use these 125 phrases in real life as much as possible. Practice speaking them aloud, even if you're by yourself. Try using them in your daily routines, with friends, during online chats, or even while watching English content. The more you use them, the more natural they will become. You can also create your own short dialogues or journal entries using these phrases. For example, write a conversation between two friends making weekend plans. Try to include as many of the phrases as you can. Or describe your morning routine, using at least 10 of these expressions. This kind of active practice helps turn passive knowledge into speaking ability. Finally, remember that learning a language is a journey. You don't need to be perfect. What matters is that you keep trying, keep speaking, and keep learning. Every phrase you learn brings you one step closer to fluency. So keep practicing, keep growing, and most importantly, keep enjoying the process. Thank you for spending this time with me. I'm proud of you for completing this long lesson, and I hope you'll come back for more. Until next time, take care and happy learning.